Hello, everybody, and welcome to theme number 4. And we've got our expert interview. Today, we're speaking to the wonderful Rituraj Phukan. He's an environmentalist, a naturalist, a climate activist, and a writer as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and we're going to focus a lot of it today on water and water contamination and water waste. Now, what inspired you to get into environmentalism?
Great question. So I live in Assam, which is a biodiversity-rich, water-abundant, climate-impacted state in the northeast of India. The diversity of our land extends to our people, with all our cultures and traditions intertwined with the biodiversity around us. When I watched the documentary and Inconvenient Truth, and it opened my eyes to climate change. But for a long time, I quit my government job and I wanted to work for nature. So I was involved in human-elephant conflict mitigation, conservation of wild birds, and so that was my breakout journey in conservation. And then after I went on an expedition to Antarctica, that is where I became a climate activist.
So the next question is, which water projects have you been involved in? And can you tell us something a bit about them?
Sure. I have always said that water is the local issue of global climate change for people and for biodiversity. Living in India, it opens my eyes to the different kinds of water problems, whereas people living in the coastal areas may have a issue of rising sea levels across much of the Deccan Plateau and central India, and also some parts of North India. It is water scarcity, whereas where I live, it is more of floods and an overabundance of water for now. So we decided that what we needed was a huge universal uh, water access campaign. So with a group called Walk for Water, which I also had as a COO based out of Hyderabad, we started on this journey in 2017 to create awareness across all the states, all the districts, across thousands of campuses around the country. Uh, and our main target was to ensure that observance of World Water Day was as important as, say, Earth Day or World Environment Day. We wanted to prioritize it on the environment calendar. Now, you will be startled by a fact that I discovered that about 40% of piped water in our country is lost due to leakage and dripping. We wanted to create this massive awareness, and so we had one water pledge as well, which went around campuses, celebrities, everybody was supporting that. So that was the big awareness and action campaign. With Smart India Limited, we also provided the technological know-how to villages to implement things like community water centers, where any available water will be taken to treatment plant and then supplied back safely at very nominal cost. Then rainwater harvesting and the restoration of bore wells. These are some of the other projects with water that we have been involved.
What is the biggest threat to water, particularly in impoverished areas and impoverished countries?
Well, all of our towns and cities are around water bodies, and especially in the rural areas, people are directly dependent on these water bodies. So with climate change, the change in precipitation, extended periods of droughts are happening. We are seeing disruption of the monsoons. So direct water availability becomes a huge problem.
I'd like to know, what can we do to help?
The world also needs to focus on the impacts in the poor countries, in the developing nations, in the global south. All that is happening calls for urgency of climate action. I mean, we cannot wait for another COP to happen after Glasgow. We need to have all the actions now. I think committing to net zero by 2050 is okay, it's enough, but there has to be, other ways to look at, you know, averting the worst effects of climate change. We can say send the man to the moon and then, get him back. So I think there are enough good, brilliant minds among us who can find solutions to fix this problem locally, at least until the entire global climate change issue is sorted, until we transition to a better way of living, to a fossil-free economy. Until then, all these localized impacts, they need to be somehow controlled.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying there. Also, it's not just about, the individual, because yes, we can do things on an individual level. We can make small changes, and I think they're vitally important. I think we do need to make these small changes, but I also think as individuals, we need to come together as a collective and demand, more action. We need to demand, because we've had a lot of promises from our leaders. We're going to be net zero by 2030. So much of this 2030 or 2050. What I'd like to know is, what are we doing now? I want to know what we're going to do by the end of July 2021. And then what are we going to do by the end of August 2021? And then what are we going to do by the end of September 2021? It's okay, we'll do it by 2030. That's all very far in the future. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll be following you, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure speaking with you as well.